They transform the lives of young adults looking for new chances and a new life while helping to find a place they can finally call a forever home. They say home is where the heart is, especially during the holidays. Yes, it counts, right? But will that lead to the capture of this fugitive? And take this job and slide it. It may not be the coolest way to quit your hapless job, but it might be the quickest. South Texas Most Wanted starts right now. On any given day, there are more than 20,000 open warrants in Bexar County alone. You can make South Texas a safer place. Make the difference. Make the call. Good evening and welcome to tonight's South Texas Most Wanted. You know, they say you should never judge a book by its cover, and from this show you should know you should never judge a fugitive by their size or even their gender. You know those electronic monitors that are supposed to keep an electronic eye on people? Our first fugitive had other ideas. Leslie Sherry only stands 5'5", only weighs 130 pounds, but she's in a ton of trouble with the U.S. Marshals. The 32-year-old Sherry is wanted for having an active arrest warrant for allegedly violating the conditions of her pretrial release. Now, back in August of 2006, Sherry was formally indicted by a grand jury on charges involving conspiracy and possession with the intent to distribute more than 5 kilograms of cocaine. As we like to say around here, only law enforcement and drug dealers seem to actively use the metric system. For the rest of us, 5 kilograms is a little more than 11 pounds of cocaine. Now, authorities finally caught up with Sherry in October of 2006, but she was released on bond and strapped with one of these: an electronic monitoring device, an ankle bracelet, a low jack. Call it whatever you will. The removal of one of these monitoring bracelets is apparently not a difficult thing. Even according to authorities, a good pair of scissors will work, but it immediately sends off a sensor to law enforcement, letting them know that the bracelet has been tampered with. Now, quick aside, there is a reason that they are ankle bracelets and not wrist bracelets. Authorities say wrist bracelets would be much easier to slip off, and then there would be no alert whatsoever. Shh, don't tell the fugitives. Still, law enforcement across the board does consider electronic monitoring a very solid form of supervision.
Typically, a judge is going to determine whether they feel like an inmate should have an ankle monitor or if they should be confined to a jail. Typically, you're going to give an ankle monitor to somebody that you trust to be out of jail. So it's usually somebody who is going to comply. They're not going to try to do anything to alter the monitor. But we also know that we get people who get desperate and they want to break away from that monitor. They take the action to cut it off, but they're always going to be caught. So anybody who has that temptation needs to be warned. We know where you are and we will find you.
Back to Leslie Sherry. After absconding from authorities, they say she made a run for it. Leslie's last known residence was on the north side of town, and authorities do believe that she may be hiding out in Houston as well to avoid capture, but that does not mean that she does not come home to San Antonio. If you have any information on 32-year-old Leslie Sherry, call our South Texas Most Wanted hotline at 210-462-1747. Again, 210-462-1747. Make the difference. Make the call.
Good evening. Authorities can use your help catching up with these next 2 suspects who are currently on the run. Police say Francisco Ornelas is wanted on several charges, including evading arrest, criminal trespassing, and giving false information when asked for his identification, and assault with bodily injury on a security officer. Now, it is unclear if all of these charges stem from a single incident, but what is clear is that he could be looking at some serious trouble. Just the charge of assaulting a security officer could be upgraded to a 3rd-degree felony depending on the circumstances. Assault is normally a misdemeanor, but the 21-year-old could be looking at 2 to 10 years in state prison. Police say Francisco Ornelas is known to hang out on the southeast side of town, and his last known address is off of Ullman Road near I-10 and W.W. White Road. Also tonight, authorities are actively in search of another man accused of assault with bodily injury. 35-year-old Leroy McMillan. McMillan is also accused of theft and felony possession of a firearm. Just the firearm charge could be 2 to 10 years, and we are not even talking about the alleged assault. Leroy McMillan is also known to hang out on the east side, and authorities believe he could be staying in the area of Advanced Drive. That's near Pecan Valley Drive and Gates Elementary School. If you have any information on Francisco Ornelas or Leroy McMillan, give us a call on our South Texas Most Wanted hotline. The number is 210-462-1747. Again, that's 210-462-1747. You can make South Texas a safer place. Make the difference, make the call.
You know, everyone likes coming home for the holidays. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Fiesta is here, and police say that includes fugitives, including one who's been on the run for a very long time.
Jesse Moscato is wanted by the U.S. Marshals for having an active arrest warrant for allegedly violating conditions of his probation and failing to appear in court. Back in January of 1989, Moscato was arrested on charges involving sexual assault of a child, but he was released on bond. Now in January of 2000, 11 years later, Moscato allegedly violated his probation because he failed to appear in court and absconded from supervision. Now in Texas, there is no statute of limitations on this type of crime. Moscato could be looking at least 10 years in prison, and he certainly did not do himself any favors by making a run for it. Authorities say the 35-year-old Moscato has strong ties to family in Seguin, Texas, and across the border in Monterrey, but marshals believe that Moscato spends the holidays in San Antonio and in the Seguin area, and they are asking for your help to finally bring him to justice after nearly 3 decades on the run. You can make South Texas a safer place. Make the difference. Make the call.
Still to come, you are making South Texas a safer place. We're going to show you how. And have you ever quit a job on the spot? Did it involve a slide? Then we've got something that beats that. South Texas Most Wanted coming up.
We want to revisit a couple of fugitives right now that we have featured before. We hope you can help us close these cases and also some information to protect yourself. Authorities say Susana Chavez Payne is wanted for theft of the elderly, credit card abuse, and forgery of a check. The charge alleges up to $20,000 in fraud. Now in Texas, lawmakers have drawn a major line in the sand when it comes to crimes against the elderly. The charges here can be up to a third-degree felony with punishment up to 10 years in jail. Payne's last known address is on Wiseman Road, that's out near Blanco and Bassey Road. The 40-year-old may be going back and forth from Laredo, but authorities believe someone here has the information to find her. Now, for anyone who might be caring for a parent or another elderly person in your family, here are some tips from the National Theft Resource Center. Know your caregiver. Do a background check, even if it's a family member or a friend. Sometimes good people do bad things. Well, secure all sensitive documents as well. We're talking about social security numbers, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, driver's license, and especially that birth certificate. Now, obviously, the elderly are big targets of phone and email scams. Make sure never to provide personal or financial information to incoming calls or incoming emails. Your bank, a legitimate business, even the IRS will never call you incoming or email you incoming to ask for personal information. Also, do not carry your Medicare or Social Security card in your wallet. Just too easy a target. Check your credit on a regular basis and consider a credit freeze. That's where you freeze access to your credit report, and it makes it harder for identity thieves to open you accounts in your name. And finally, my personal favorite, shred it. Shred anything with sensitive information, even if that information is not complete. You know, like when companies just kind of X out the last few numbers of a bank account or a credit card account. Pay particular attention to those credit card receipts and to unused or canceled checks. Now back to our fugitives. Authorities can also use your help tracking down Isaac Williams. Williams is wanted for trafficking of a child intending to force labor. This has become a major issue in South Texas, and it also comes with some serious penalties. If convicted, we're talking 5 to 99 years in prison. The 30-year-old was originally arrested with his girlfriend, who was also charged with child trafficking. Now, thanks in part to your calls, she has been arrested. Isaac Williams, however, is still on the loose. Now, his last known address is up in Killeen near Fort Hood, but authorities know Williams has many connections in Bexar County and is likely to still meet with many of them on a regular basis. If you have any information on Susana Chavez Payne or Isaac Williams, call our South Texas Most Wanted hotline.
Still to come, he has been on the run for nearly 3 decades now, but authorities believe he has not run far. Can you help bring him in tonight? And what does it mean when the flight attendant is the first one off the plane and she takes the slide? That means they say you did what? We'll be right back.
He hails from the Golden State, but he certainly has a tarnished reputation with local U.S. Marshals. They are hoping you can help turn this holy weekend into anything but. For Jesus Romero. Romero is wanted by U.S. Marshals for having an active arrest warrant for allegedly violating the conditions of his supervised release, his probation. In July of 2012, Romero was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison after being convicted on charges of conspiracy and possession with intent to distribute cocaine. He was also ordered to serve 2 years of supervised release, but police say the 31-year-old violated those conditions in May of 2014 when he was arrested by San Antonio police on allegations of criminal mischief and assault causing bodily injury. Police say Romero was then picked up on similar charges in January of 2015. Now, just the assault with bodily injury charges carry up to a year in jail, but that can be increased if a judge gets a chance to consider the defendant's past. Now, Romero did manage to get out on bond in those last 2 cases, but U.S. Marshals hope you can help make that freedom short-lived. They say Romero does have a violent history and he is known to carry firearms. Authorities definitely consider him armed and dangerous. They add that considering his extensive substance abuse history, the quicker they can get him off the street, the better. Jesus Romero stands about 6 feet tall. He has tattoos on his back, his chest, and his face. If you have any information on where U.S. Marshals can find Jesus Romero, give us a call on our South Texas Most Wanted hotline, or you can always go to our Facebook page and drop us a message there as well.
Good evening. Your tips and information are already making South Texas a safer place. These next fugitives are no longer on the run because of your effort. Fidel Lopez was wanted for possession with intent to distribute a controlled substance of 1 to 4 grams. That may not sound like much, but by the way Texas classifies these crimes, this can make this a very big deal. The state approaches drug crimes by the addiction of the drug. So if you are dealing in marijuana, it's one crime. If you are dealing in crack, it's a completely different crime. Since the charge against Lopez is considered a Class 1 crime, that is the highest, he could be looking at 2 to 10 years in prison. Fidel Lopez was also picked up on a charge of theft. That will not help. He was living in north central area of town when he was arrested. Now, Adam Becerra is in custody after being arrested for tampering with government documents to cause defraud or harm. This may not sound like much, but can end up as 2 to 10 years in prison. You can make South Texas a safer place. Call 210-462-1747. That's 210-462-1747. Make the difference, make the call. For South Texas Most Wanted, I'm Vanessa Gallegos.
You know, we've all had those days where you just wanted to leave the job, never come back again. Would you be more likely to do that if the company gave you a slip and slide on the way out? Watch out for the HR department at the bottom. Here's our JT Street with, they say you did what?
There's a soft spot in my heart for what flight attendants have to go through. Long hours, constant jet lag, and a seemingly endless parade of passengers who, let's face it, aren't exactly debonair. From slobs to drunks to drunk naked slobs, A quick glance at the hashtag passenger shaming will show you just how unfriendly the skies can be. Ugh. After seeing that, it's no surprise why a flight attendant might want to walk off the job, but why walk when you can slide? That's exactly what one United flight attendant did recently when she told her boss to take her job and shove it. Well, in this case, take her job and proceed to toss it out the nearest emergency exit in an orderly fashion. That's what KPRC2 News in Houston said Julia Price did after her flight landed in Houston recently, grabbing her stuff, tossing it out the emergency exit, deploying the slide, doing a perfect jackknife down it, grabbing her things, and leaving a stunned plane full of passengers in her wake. According to KPRC, United says that was Price's last act as a flight attendant, and the Price family says that they want to keep the matter private, despite the fact that a video of Price's near-perfect career dismount is now going viral. While the true reason behind Price's decision to turn a jumbo jet into her own personal bouncy castle may never be known, after scrolling through endless pics of gum seats and butt cheeks, I bet I can take a crack at it. With my tray table always in the upright and locked position, this is JT Street with this week's They Say You Did What?
Okay, keep in mind, people, this is not a good way to avoid paying for that extra baggage on the plane. Trust me, pull that stunt, you'll never get on the plane. Your tips and information already paying off. We'll show you how coming up.
A permanent place and a forever home is exactly what they're looking to achieve for the children at St. Jude's Ranch for Children. And that's what they have already done for foster children leaving their centers here in South Texas. And that's what makes them a South Texas difference maker.
St. Jude's Ranch for Children has been around in Texas for over 30 years. We started here in the Bulverde location with the Hamilton family that were just a loving couple that wanted to care for kids in foster care. And as we know, the need is greater than one couple can serve. And so they decided to make this a business with St. Jude's Ranch for Children that we've grown from now over these 30 years, from their beginnings to serving over 2,000 kids at all of our locations.
Our biggest need is for support from the community. We need people who want to be foster parents, who want to give kids a loving home, a safe place that they can come home every day after school and know that they are safe and they are loved in this home. And we need the community to financially support our program so that the 200 kids that we're caring for every year, we can continue to care for the next 200 and the next 200, and that we are here for the kids that unfortunately have been abused, abandoned, neglected, and need a place to heal from that trauma.
We provide loving homes for kids that have been abused, abandoned, and neglected. The kids that we serve have suffered trauma from the people that were unwilling or unable to care for them. But from the moment they arrive to any of our facilities in Bulverde, New Braunfels, or San Antonio, we immediately start meeting their needs, their basic needs, providing them food, clothing, and shelter. And then we build upon those needs by providing these children the precious childhood that they deserve. We work to heal them from that trauma of past abuse.
Our therapeutic program, it's called TBRI, Trust-Based Relational Interventions, is based on the brain science behind how trauma affects the developing brain and how you can heal from that. Because while trauma, it does physically alter the brain, the good news is that you can heal from that. And how you do that is to create loving, trusting relationships where kids know that they are safe, that they can count on you to be there for them, and that you can provide them with the things they need to build a relationship, and to then from that foundation build social skills and learn how to thrive on their own, to be successful in the educational system, to get a job as a teenager, to interact in that environment and to keep a job, and then to transition to the adult world and be successful.
When a tragedy happens in a home and the state comes in, oftentimes large sibling groups have to be separated, but at SJRC we bring them together. We have a particular situation of a young sibling group of 3 that had never lived together besides when they were just babies in a traumatic environment. They came together with us at St. Jude's Ranch when they were 7, 10, and 12, and we started building that relationship of families, and now we have one of that group that's still with us is about to graduate high school and go on to college with healthy relationships with her family and the community.
Despite the need, federal funds only cover 30% of the cost of St. Jude's Ranch for Children. The rest comes from good people who recognize that people with help comes home. For more information, go to our Facebook page at South Texas Most Wanted and click on this story or give us a call on our hotline, 210-462-1747. For South Texas Most Wanted, I'm Trudy Stone.
Some great work being done out at St. Jude, but there are way too many foster children aging out of the system right now. There are other groups that are stepping in as well. We hope to feature them in the coming weeks as well. South Texas Most Wanted. We'll be right back.
Now, before we let you go, a quick look back at some of the suspects that we featured tonight on South Texas Most Wanted. Leslie Sherry only stands 5'5", only weighs 130 pounds, but she is in a ton of trouble with the U.S. Marshal Service. The 32-year-old is wanted for having an active arrest warrant for allegedly violating the conditions of her pretrial release. Back in August of 2006, Sherry was formally indicted by a grand jury on charges involving conspiracy and possession with intent to distribute more than 5 kilograms of cocaine. That's a little more than 11 pounds of the drug. Authorities caught up with Sherry in October of 2006, but she was released on bond and strapped with one of these, an electronic monitoring device, which she then cut and made a run for it. Authorities are fairly certain that Sherry is splitting her time between Houston and San Antonio. Jesse Mascaro is wanted by the U.S. Marshals for having an arrest warrant. Mascaro was arrested on charges involving sexual assault of a child, but he was released on bond, and 11 years later, 11 years, authorities say he failed to appear in court in January of 2000. Now, authorities say the 35-year-old Mascaro has strong ties to family in Seguin, Texas, and across the border in Monterrey. But marshals believe that Mascaro may spend the holidays in San Antonio and Seguin, and they are asking for your help to finally bring him to justice after nearly 3 decades on the run. Police say Francisco Ornelas is wanted on several charges, including evading arrest, criminal trespassing, giving false information when asked for his identification, and assault with bodily injury on a security officer. Now, just a charge of assaulting a security officer could be upgraded to a 3rd-degree felony depending on the circumstances. The 21-year-old could be looking at 2 to 10 years in a state prison. Police say Francisco Ornelas is known to hang out on the southeast side of town. And finally, authorities are actively in search of another man accused of assault with bodily injury, 35-year-old Leroy McMillan. McMillan is also accused of theft and felony possession of a firearm. He is known to hang out on the east side, and authorities believe he could be staying in the area near Pecan Valley Drive and Gates Elementary School. If you have any information on any of these suspects, give us a call on our South Texas Most Wanted hotline, the number 210-462-1747. Again, 210-462-1747.
That's it for us tonight. Thank you for staying up late with us. For all of us trying to make a difference and making South Texas a safer place, we want to remind you, you can do the same. Make the difference. Make the call. We'll see you soon.